Today, or actually this week, has obviously been a different circumstance leading up to signing day, preparing for a game. When you look at the team that we play this week, you know, I can't say enough about how well they've been playing offensively. They're really physical up front. Um, got a very experienced quarterback, got big backs, play multiple guys back there, playmakers on the outside, and have one of the better tight ends in our league. Defensively, they play really good team defense, create a lot of negative plays. Um, they don't give up a lot of big plays, have experience big up front. And then special teams, they've got good specialists and good returners and good athletes running down on teams. So it'll be a tremendous challenge for us this week. Just looking at our team, our guys really have continued to work hard this week. Finals are over with, so we really had a chance to focus on football the entire time. It's been kind of treated like a bowl week practice with the time and the opportunity to work on Texas A&M. So had a really good week. If you look at today in signing day, we're really excited. We've got 14 guys that have officially signed with us. Over the next several days, we expect to have several more. And just looking at these guys, I can't say enough about our staff, our recruiting staff, our administration, academics, everybody. Recruiting is a team effort. So everybody within our program really works hard at recruiting. We do it every single day. Our players are probably the best recruiters that we have, and our players have done a tremendous job. It's been very unusual, obviously, for the recruits in itself, because they've not been able to come on campus. Building relationships. We started really hard with this class during the COVID pandemic there when it first started, and just lots of nights on Zoom calls, FaceTimes, and on the phone. Right, so it's probably with this particular class, seems like to me, I know them, I know their families, I know everybody involved around them, probably better than any group I've ever been associated with in recruiting, just because the opportunity, or really, I guess the opportunity to do it because we wasn't at work specifically, so, but it's obviously a group that we're proud of. Just looking at them going down the list, Trinity Bale from Albertville, Alabama, is a guy that actually when he was in the 7th grade, my dad was the head football coach there, and he called me and said, listen, there's a kid here in the 7th grade. He goes, I don't know if he's going to play in the NFL or play in the NBA, but he's going to play somewhere. And I want to bring him down and introduce him to you. So as a young man that I've known probably since he was 12 or 13 years old, he's probably 6'4" then, but guy that's, 6'7" plus, 265 pounds, that plays tight end, can play multiple positions, plays defensive end, a guy that's just extremely athletic. I talked to him the other night after a basketball game, and I said, so how many points did you have? He said, I had 7 dunks. So I said, you make any free throws? He said, I was 5 for 5. So a guy that's really, really athletic. Miles Campbell from Douglasville, Georgia. Miles is 6'3", 235, a guy that will be mid-year. Very good student, athletic. If you watch his tapes, a guy that really kind of plays all over the field. His junior year in high school, played a lot of quarterback. It's a guy that we're going to focus at tight end. You watch his senior tape, a guy that plays wide receiver, plays defensive line. So he kind of plays all over the field, a very instinctive guy. The next young man is Christian Charles from Gainesville, Georgia, 6'1", 185. A guy that played high school quarterback, and he's going to play defensive back for us, but a really good athlete. Didn't get a chance to run track, his junior year. He's another guy that's going to be a mid-year, really good student, but a guy that's probably a 10'6", 10'7" guy that weighs 185 pounds. Very instinctive, tough guy that we're excited to have in our program. Katron Evans out of Chesapeake, Virginia, through St. Francis Academy there in Baltimore, is another young man that we've been recruiting a long time. I can remember Katron when he come in, he was about in the 8th or 9th grade, coming to a camp, and he looked like he could play then for us. So a guy that's played in a really good program. He didn't get a chance to play his senior year because they didn't have football there at St. Francis, but a guy that can really play up and down the line of scrimmage. I went last year and watched him practice there in Baltimore, and I came back and somebody asked me, they said, what that team look like? I said, they look like the Pittsburgh Steelers. It's the biggest bunch of high school kids I've ever seen. So, and Katron's a guy that really stuck out to me. The next young man is Tyon Evans from Hartsville, South Carolina. He's at Hutchinson Junior College right now, a guy that we felt like is one of the premier running backs in the country. A guy that will be here mid-year also. We'll be excited to get him. Feels like he's a guy that can play all three downs, has return ability. He's probably 220 pounds. And really good hands out of the backfield, good blocker, but a guy that can make you miss, can run with power, can run in between the tackles, can get out there on the perimeter, is a guy that has lots of explosive ability. Jamarion Gooch from Gallatin, Tennessee is a guy that's 6'6", 350, a guy that really has only played 2 years of football. He came to our camp 2 years ago and had never participated in football. Is probably one of the first times that I guess he just said, I'm going to start playing football. We had him in camp, and just a big, massive, athletic guy, but a guy that's very instinctive, has tons of upside, plays with an edge, and a guy that we feel like could probably play up and down the line of scrimmage. So we're excited about him. This next young man, Amari McNeil, is from Sewanee, Georgia, Peachtree Ridge High School, 6'4", 285. A guy that we kind of got on late in the process. And there's lots of guys like that this year because lack of spring recruiting, summer camps. So just kind of through the due diligence of kind of working the phones, we come across this guy, and, a guy that we're sitting here watching. He's playing left tackle on his high school team. He's playing defensive tackle, a guy that we think is extremely athletic, that could play on either side of the ball. And we're excited about having him in our program. Walker Merrill from Brentwood, Tennessee, 6'1", 180 pounds, a guy that we've been recruiting for a while since we've been here. Just a really good playmaker, very instinctive, plays with lots of toughness. Has had a great senior season, a guy that will be mid-year. And a guy that will be in our wide receiver rotation pretty quick. Julian Nixon from Roswell, Georgia. Julian, I've known Julian's dad since we were in high school. We grew up in the same hometown and played college ball together. Used to drive back and forth to school together. And Julian's a guy that 6'4", he's probably 235 or 40 pounds. Very athletic, has huge hands, just really tracks the ball extremely well, is a mismatch type of guy out there on the perimeter, a guy that we're excited about for sure. William Parker from Nashville, Tennessee, Pearl-Con High School. He's 6'5", it says 6'5", 305. Last time I saw William, he looked like he was probably 6'5", about 335. So, but, a guy that's, to me, I think it's one of the better athletic big men in all the country, a guy that really could play on either side of the ball, but we'll play him on offense. Comes from a program at Pearl-Con where, they've had a lot of success. And, we've got one of his teammates here, so a guy that we've recruited for 3 years now. I guess it's been probably one of the first times I went out on the road, I saw him. I'm sitting there in the gymnasium at Pearl-Con. I'm looking, and there's this kid that's, he's very large, and he's got on boots, and he's jumping up and dunking it any way he wants to. And the coach there tells me that he's just now getting him out for football. So, guy that we're excited about having for sure. Caden Salter from Cedar Hill, Texas. Caden's 6'1", 185, a guy that we targeted very early in the process. Plays in one of the better leagues in the country, down in Texas, having a phenomenal year this year, a guy that can make all the throws. He's a winner. He's a leader. a guy that will be here mid-year. Him and William both will be here mid-year. So a guy that we can't wait to get here in the spring. Aaron Willis from Virginia, a guy that he played at Life Christian Academy this year, but has been at St. Francis. Obviously, St. Francis didn't play, so he wanted to go somewhere where he could play, and he found a home. But a guy that, again, that we've been recruiting a long time, has a great motor, probably can play all the spots at inside linebacker for us. Is a great special teams player. He's all over the field, and a guy that we're absolutely excited about. Cody Brown from Georgia, running back. Cody's 5'11", 225, a guy that rushed for over 5,000 yards in his career. That's hard to do anywhere, but a guy that is used to having the ball in his hand, runs behind his pads, really good vision, really good student, and a guy that's been committed to us for a long time, and we're glad we've got him. Jalen Wright from North Carolina. Jalen's an athlete, but will probably play at running back, kick returner, guy that you get the ball out in space. I think last winter he ran the second fastest 60-meter time in the country, but a guy that weighs 205 pounds. It's probably going to end up being 215, that has really, really good speed, and a guy that can really assist us early on in the return game. And then a place kicker, J.T. Carver from Martin, Tennessee, a guy that we targeted early, knowing that probably with the transition of not knowing that guys could come back, just adding to our specialists is a guy that we're real excited about. So like I said, we got 14 guys that we've got their scholarships in, and we expect several more over the next couple of days. So really excited about this class to mix in with the last two classes that we've signed. And these guys have been a big part of helping recruit these guys, and they'll continue to do that. And I'm excited about where we're headed here. With that, I'll take any questions. I have one more thing to say too, that I wanted to say. It's kind of been an emotional day for me. I got a phone call today. I'm going to have to go home tonight. My grandfather's not doing very well at all, and I want to go see him. Because of that, I'm not going to do our signing day show tonight. So I just wanted to let you guys know that.
Questions. We'll start with David Pascal and then David Ubben.
Jeremy, you guys got off to such a strong start with that wave of commitments in this spring. And I guess by May, I know 24/7 had your class like second in the country. How do you think you guys have done? That's such a long way to the finish line, obviously, even with an early signing period. But how do you feel like you guys have done in the months since that followed that spring surge, knowing that everybody was still going to be coming after these guys?
Well, the way recruiting goes, it's not over until they sign. So it's kind of just the starting point, right? So recruiting's 365 days out of the year, and that's why you got to recruit every single day. I feel like our staff really focused on it really hard coming out of that pandemic, and we had a really good plan. One thing that has been tough for everybody is the evaluation process. You got some states that are playing football, some that are not. There's no summer camps, and just focusing on the guys that are going to be in your class. It's very important to make sure that you know exactly what you're getting.
Jeremy, as you look at recruiting the last couple of months, how has the on-field results for you guys affected that for both 21 and 22 as well?
David, I couldn't hear you.
Can you hear me? You good now?
Yeah, I barely could.
Okay, yeah. As you've looked at recruiting and been recruiting the last couple of months, how has the on-field results affected that for the 21 class and the 22 class as well?
It's really interesting. For most of these recruits, wherever they're at, right, the circumstances for this year are surrounding them, their high school teams. Like I said, a lot of teams a lot of states have not played. Some states have. Some have played half a season. Some have started and stopped and started back again. So you know, it to me, I don't think it's had a whole lot of effect on it, just to be honest. I mean, I think, you know, the reality of it is, in the circumstances that most high school recruits have been involved in, they understand that circumstances have been unusual for them.
Austin Price, then Blake Topmeyer.
Coach, how big was getting Tyon Evans back in the boat in this class after he'd committed then decommitted, just from a standpoint of having that bigger back that you can use kind of as a hammer in the run game? And then with several spots left open, how would you kind of weigh how many to leave open for potential transfers with that one-time transfer waiver, you know, looming after the first of the year?
Well, Tyon's, you know, a pretty interesting guy. He's never been on our campus. So that's the way a lot of this has been in recruiting, unfortunately, for a lot of these kids. So not just the guys we've recruited, but other guys also. So again, this recruiting cycle has been unlike any I have ever been a part of before because of that, the lack of opportunity to build relationships personally. There's nothing like sitting in a room for a young man to get to spend time with players on our campus, or academics, or the strength staff, or player development, their position coach, the coordinator. So we've really had to work hard to do it through Zoom. So it's just been unusual. I think Tyon's a guy that, again, like I said, I think he's got a chance to be a dynamic player. We're excited to have him. You know, with our remaining spots, you know, we'll fill up pretty fast. Very confident of that. You know, so we'll just have to wait and see where we're at come January.
What positions do you feel like you still need to address in this class? You know, is it a corner? Is it a pass rusher? What do you think is still a priority for the rest of the spots?
Well, I think every position. You know, so if you see on the list here, there's some kids that, you know, there's a couple of running backs there, right? You know, there's a couple of linemen there. So as this whole thing goes, you got to look and fit it together. One thing that's really changed to me, the dynamic, is the fact that other guys can come back this season, not counting. You know, having guys back and just, you know, okay, so just for instance, like D-line for us. So there's 4 senior D linemen. You know, well, if all 4 of those guys decided to come back, probably changes the room a little bit, you know, and how many guys you take, how many guys you sign. So again, it's been a very unusual year.
Jeremy, with the running backs, added 3 guys there. Why'd you decide to take 3 at that spot? And then with Caden Salter, you know, why was he someone you identified as being the quarterback that you wanted in this class?
Well, to start with, at running back, you probably need 6 on your team. You know, if you look at our roster right now, just based off our numbers, you know, some of these freshmen, we didn't know exactly what position they were going to play when they got here, right? So just trying to figure it all out. You want to make sure that you got running backs. This is a physical league. You know, if you run out of them, you're in trouble. So that's one of the reasons. And another thing is, they're usually the best athletes on their high school team. You know, they seem to touch the ball a whole lot, and these guys have ability to play a lot of spots. But that's one of the main reasons. Caden Salter's just a guy that, you know, he probably, I think before we got shut down, he came on an unofficial visit. So got a chance to spend some time with him, and just really liked his makeup, loved his family, loved his tape, a guy that's very athletic, that we think has a lot of upside, and a guy we're really excited about.
We'll go to Jordan, then Wes.
Hey, Jeremy, with several of these players not being able to practice or really playing a game just with their school, how do you see that into kind of maybe changing the course of their transition into college, not having played organized football in, you know, well over a year by the time they get on campus?
Well, I do think that maybe the guys that got to play probably are a little bit at an advantage. You know, football is a game that it's a developmental game. So having an opportunity to participate in it absolutely is an advantage, so I think some of the guys that didn't play this past year, the training leading up to whenever they get here will be important to make sure that they're in shape. Something that we've got to be focused on, and I know that these guys will.
Jeremy, I know that we don't really know what the impact of that one-time transfer rule is going to be in the long run, but how much impact do you think it could have on recruiting in terms of maybe having to leave a few more spots open than previous years, because maybe guys could be coming, but you also want to get guys too?
Well, there's just talking about grad transfers, first of all, every year there's several guys that are grad transfers that when they make that move, they usually have an impact on the team. You can look at it every year, probably across our league. There's guys that do do impact the team. I think you're talking about, the possibility of a one-time transfer. Is that what you're asking, Wes?
Yes, it is.
Yeah, which right now is not a rule, obviously. But if it becomes a rule, which, I probably would be in favor of, I'm thinking that, you got guys that have a chance to impact teams. But also the reason I like the rule is, if a guy makes a decision to go to school and the circumstances change, I think if they're doing things like they're supposed to do academically, that they ought to have an opportunity to possibly do that, So again, I'm a little different because I was a transfer myself, and still stay in contact with the school that I transferred from, my old coach. So, it's just circumstances are different for each individual person. And I hate that we could keep a young person, especially the way our times are right now with the circumstances over the last 7 or 8 months, that, we keep them from being able to try to reach their dreams, which most of them is for playing ball. But to me, the most important thing is getting a degree.
Go to Ben McKee, then Brent Hubbs.
Coach, I know Caden Salter is not a run-first quarterback, but he's a guy that can make plays with his legs. When you all were evaluating quarterbacks this cycle, was that ability to make plays with the legs and extend plays a criteria for y'all?
Well, to me, you always want an athletic quarterback. Just kind of growing up on the defensive side, a guy that can extend plays, can present something in the run game from a quarterback's perspective, creates a different dynamic for the defensive, the defensive staff, the defensive team. So yeah, it's great that Caden he's got a talented arm, but he's also a really good athlete. So, and you can watch it on his high school tape. I mean, he's a guy that's very creative.
Coach, 2 questions. One, what did you see and how did you evaluate Christian Charles? Because you didn't get a chance to work him out in camp as a DB, and he hasn't played, I don't think, a lot of DB in high school. And then 2, one more thing on the transfer stuff. Do you envision that becoming kind of a second recruiting season, or do you think most transfers will already kind of know where they're going to go when they decide to officially jump into the transfer portal and make that decision?
I don't know about the transfer part. Obviously if you look right now, there's lots of guys in the portal. So, there's guys that are looking for another home. So once they get in there, you're right, that becomes a kind of a second, recruiting cycle, so to speak, because they would obviously be mid-year right now, so. But yeah, you're probably right. That will be a kind of a second season in recruiting. And what was your other question?
Yeah, on Christian Charles, you didn't get a chance to evaluate him in a camp, and I know that's DBs or something that's a big deal. He's not played a lot of DB. What did you see in watching his tape and talking to people that led you to say, hey, this athlete's good enough to play him?
Just watching him run with the ball in his hand, so we've kind of had a history of recruiting quarterbacks, and guys that, make a lot of plays and show their athleticism. And we felt like that we had verified times, we had verified size, verified speed. He obviously is catching the ball quarterback in the gun, so he's probably got good hands, and just watching him run with the ball, to us, there's three critical factors at defensive back. Can you play man-to-man, tackle in space, and play the ball in the deep part of the field? Just looking at that, we felt confident that he kind of fit that criteria.
Mike Wilson and Trey Wallace.
Yeah, Jeremy, with Caden being a guy that's enrolling early, is he someone that you expect to compete for playing time at quarterback kind of right away, or and what are the physical skills he might have that could allow him to do so?
Yeah, I expect all these guys to compete for playing time. That's why we recruited them here. It's they'll all have the same opportunity as everybody else, and it's a class that we're excited about, and we're excited about adding to it. So listen, the guys on our team, they want the best players to come play with them. The best way to get better is to play against good players every single day. So the better the competition, the better or the more you're going to improve as a player. So our team believes in that. That's why they're so devoted to recruiting.
Hey, Jeremy, you just mentioned you were talking about you taking this week as bowl practice. I was curious, has the SEC or Philip Fulmer, have they discussed it with you on a certain time that you guys would have to decide if you want to play in a bowl game? And have you spoken with your seniors and leadership council about that possibility?
We've talked about it, but we've been really focused on Texas A&M right now. So once we get past this game on Saturday, we'll sit down and talk about that again.
Do you know if there is a follow-up? Do you know if there's a certain date that you would have to let the conference know?
I don't know about that.
Okay, thank you.
We'll go to David Pascal and Gustavo.
Jeremy, I'm sorry if you said this at the beginning, but out of these 14, how many are going to be mid-year? And I guess my question following that is, I know that seniors don't count toward the 85 next year, but right now they are eating up space as far as mid-year. So I was just curious if there's a little bit of a numbers challenge in the weeks ahead as far as that goes.
No, there's 8 out of these 14 that will be mid-year. This senior class, the guys that come back, they don't count toward the 85 next year. So not yet. It's the down the road that there's not been a ruling on yet.
Coach, you mentioned you guys been very focused on Texas A&M. So how have you been seeing the practices and the preparation for the game on Saturday?
Yeah, it's been good. It's been good. A lot of energy. Our guys continue to work hard every single day. We got most of our team will be back, right? And the guys that won't, they'll pursue a professional career, right? So, it's an opportunity for everybody to improve, and they're taking advantage of it.
Last two questions, Eric Kane, then Matt Ray.
Hey, Jeremy, how's Cade Mays progressed with his injury this week, and do you think you're going to have him against A&M on Saturday?
No, I don't think he'll be available Saturday. So he's working hard to get back, but I don't see it right now.
Hey, Jeremy, back when you guys first got here, you identified Trayvon Flowers, and at the time, I believe he was had signed a letter of intent to play baseball and had taken a pretty good absence from football just to come out to play his senior year. But I believe one of the pitches that y'all made to him was that he didn't have any bad tendencies. When you see a guy like Christian Charles, who has played Wildcat quarterback and is explosive and probably doesn't have any bad tendencies because he hasn't played defensive back, how exciting is that as a coach to know that you have an opportunity to really mold this guy and develop him throughout the course of his career?
Well, one thing about Christian, when you talk to him, it's almost like he jumps through the phone. He's got a contagious personality, and a guy that I can see being a leader. He's excited about getting here. He's excited about playing the position. So he kind of just talking to him reminds me a lot of Alante. Alante was the same way going through the recruiting process. So you're right. He's a guy that has size, speed, and want to. and he's not played a lot of defensive back, but when he had the ball in his hand in high school, he was dynamic. Most of the time, the guys that are used to having the ball in their hand, it tends to get in their hand on Saturdays. So hopefully he'll bring that to the table.
All right, any other questions? All right. Thank y'all.
Thank you.
Thank y'all.